Hey friends, so I made a mage build video. I actually made two of them in one video like a month and a half ago, and then I got a few comments from people going, where's the fire skill tree? And I thought they were just being silly billies, but then when I actually went back and looked at it, I was like, I actually haven't included the fire tree. And I've been playing around with mage a little bit lately, and so my build's changed a little bit since I made those two, and so I thought I'd just do an updated build, what I'm running now. And I'm going to be bringing out maybe a couple more videos on mages in the next week or two. So I thought I would start off with build video since I didn't do the fire tree, so this is going to include that. And as I've mentioned about mage before, one of the things I like about mage is it's like, one of the things I like about the mage builds anyway, is that you don't have to, like when I play bruiser, you sort of have to keep changing your build and your skills and all that kind of stuff depending on what you're doing. What I like about mage is you can have one build, and that build is good for wars, it's good for OPRs, it's good for duels, and you don't necessarily have to keep changing your skills either. Like with bruiser, if you're going to fight a mage or a bow, you'd want to put on reap, whereas you know, and just change your build around depending on who you're fighting. But with the mage, it seems like you can just use the same build for everything, and I really like that. And as I said, I also just really like that with the mage, nothing's unkillable. Like when I'm playing the bruiser, there's just some classes I just can't catch, like they could just run away from me, so you just have to ignore them. With the mage, you're going to struggle with some classes, like maybe a bow or a hatchet builds, but you've still got a pretty good chance of beating them if you play well. So that's kind of one of the other reasons that really attracts me to mage. And then, as I've said multiple times, I've played mages in other MMOs, so my positioning's really good, along those lines. So I tend to top the damage and OPRs and all that kind of stuff. But my aiming is a little bit bad, and I definitely need to improve on that in dueling. So that's what I'll be working on. Ahoy mateys! Here we have my mage, and we will go through everything for you. Okay, so for the weapons, I'm using this fire staff here. I'm using refreshing move because with the mage, all your defenses and all your major attacks are based off your skills. Like your light attacks and heavy attacks don't hit that hard, so your damage is going to come from your skills, but also your defense, like your kiting and your staying alive, is going to come from your skills by CCing opponents, going into entomb on your ice gauntlet. So having something like refreshing move, which lowers down the cooldowns of those main skills, is going to help you both in terms of damage. It's also going to help you in terms of defenses. So I've gone for refreshing move. And then I've gone for Empowering Fireball because if you have it on your weapon, obviously the Fireball hits harder, and that's where most of your damage is coming from. So yeah, Empowering Fireball on my staff, and then Vicious just to help with the crit damage. Now the other thing is I'm using a flawed Ice Gem, not a pristine Ice Gem. And the reason that is because a flawed Ice Gem increases your base damage by 12%. So if you are a mage, make sure you use a flawed gem, not a pristine gem. So that's on the fire staff. The ice gauntlet is the same sort of thing of using refreshing move for reasons I've already stated in Vicious, but I'm using unending thaw, and that's because when you put the frost effect on people, once they leave that ice storm, they'll still have that effect on them for 2 seconds. So if you hit them for a heavy attack, you can root them, and then that means you can hit them with a like a ice spike or something and do big damage on them. So that is the two weapons that I'm using. And then in terms of gear, so some of this gear isn't best in slot, but I've just kind of gone for it because, but you know, I'm still getting number one, usually top 3 in OPRs. So obviously this gear works and you can do it. So I'm sure there's better gear out there that people wear, but this seems fine for me. Now, if you're new to the game, or you don't know this, but you should know this, you should always have resilience on every gear. So I have resilience on every piece of gear, and I am running light armor, so I've got a medium chest, and then everything else is light. Okay, so on my headpiece, I've got resilience, of course, and then efficient burnout. I like efficient burnout because not only does it increase your damage, but it just means you never ever run out of mana. Before, when I didn't use efficient burnout, every now and then, not often, but every now and then in like heavy fights, I'd run out of mana. So this just helps to keep that chugging along. So for my chest, this is just not the best set, but I really want a Healing Tomb. Healing Tomb is just too good to give up. It gives you about a 1 to 2k heal. So that's just super, super helpful, and plus resilience, of course. So that's why I picked this, because I wanted that perk, and that was what I had on it. And then for my light gloves, so this is probably an example of a BIS slot. So if you can, try to get a refreshing something and resilience, and then if you need to get a trait on your gear, and you'll be good to go. You can either stack refreshing or refreshing evasion. I've just got refreshing evasion, so it means that every time I dodge, it reduces my cooldowns. And as I've already stated, reducing your cooldowns is so important for a mage because it means your main skills come off, and that's just really good for both offense and defense. So I've stacked refreshing evasion, got resilience, and then refreshing pillar of fire. I use refreshing and pillar of fire in this build, so it basically reduces the cooldown every time I hit someone. And if you hit multiple people, it can almost like come up almost straight away. So yeah, it's really, really good. And then you have, for my light armor, I've got Shirking Energy. This really, really helps with kiting, so that if you've sort of over-dodged, it's going to help give you a bit more stamina for another dodge. And then Physical Aversion, because my biggest problem in OPRs these days are muskets and bows, and so having a little bit of Physical Aversion really, really helps with that. And then, of course, Resilience. And then for my legs, I'm using Stable Incinerate. I don't actually use that skill at the moment, but I probably would if I was dueling a bruiser, or if we were in an OPR or war that was kind of bruiser heavy. It really helps with that. Or if you're getting killed by lots of assassins. So this just allows me that if I want to switch out Pillar of Fire with Stable Incinerate, I can. And it's also got Refreshing Evasion on it, so that's awesome. And then Resilience. So that's that gear. And then for jewelry, I am running the Champion's Amulet with Shuriken and Power, so that increases my damage. Health, you always want to have as much health as you can, so 10% increase in health, that's just great for survivability. And then again, stamina recovery, so when you're dodging, when you're kiting, this just really helps, gives you a few extra dodges, so I really, really like that. This ring is, I could probably get a better ring with a third trait. I don't really need the poisoning, but it gives me Hearty. Because I'm in light armor, you need to be wearing Hearty because it gives you that extra bit of stamina, so that's really, 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 really important if you're in light armor and you're playing a Kairi class. And then, of course, extra fire damage, right? Because I'm a mage, most of my damage is coming from the fire staff. And so, yeah, 5% increased fire damage. Another thing you could do here would be Keen Awareness, so it increases your chance of crit. A lot of the mage skills are based on crit chance and crit damage, so Keen Awareness would also be very, very good here. And, yeah, so whichever one works for you. And then for the earring, I'm stacking Refreshing Evasion again, just, yeah, as mentioned, just to reduce those cooldowns. Refreshing Toast, which reduces potion cooldowns, which is really, really helpful. And then just regenerating, so you're constantly ticking your health up in between. So that can be helpful if you're like kiting melee and they're not hitting you. You'll just be slowly popping up your health. So in terms of my resistances, I really, really like this. This works for me. I've got 12.5% slash damage resistance. I don't really have a problem with bruises so much, but every now and then you're going to get an assassin jump. You know, that assassin, like a sword and shield hatchet kind of type jump on you. Mainly hatchet, so slash resistance is really, really helpful for that. And then, but my biggest problem is obviously muskets and bows, so I've invested more heavily in thrust damage resistance. And then, so 17.5% for that, and then 5% for magic resistance. So what I do here, because the magic resistance is a little bit low, is I use common gemstone dust. So if I ever go up against a mage in an OPR or in a war, you can just pop that, and then it's going to reduce the damage they do to you quite a bit. So you get 20 seconds with that, so it should last you for quite a while you're in that duel. The rest of my consumables are kind of obvious. The 2 potions, which are really helpful, and I eat hearty food all the time, so yeah, I'm constantly chugging on that because it gives that little bit of extra health. So if someone's chasing after you and you've got like 3 or 4 seconds, it's still 3 or 4 seconds of like some heals coming in, so I'm constantly eating this. So my attributes are 300 to intelligence, 200 con. Now, the reason it's 200 con, that this is worth it. I do think this is worth it because it definitely gives you extra armor and it increases your survivability. At the moment, all my skills are set up in Constitution, so I can't get down to 150 con, but I would suggest playing around with it. And if you can get to 150 con, I'd do something like 150 con, 300 intelligence, and then 50 dexterity, because mages, a lot of the major skills rely so much on crits, so having a 10% extra chance to crit would be really, really good. So I am kind of working towards getting extra gear. As you can see, I'm broke, look. Not much gold. I'm poor, always poor. So I am working on getting down to 150 con and then trying out the dex, but this is still, a lot of bow people use 200 con, so this is still solid, and I haven't really noticed a difference in my damage, to be honest, but I've definitely noticed an increase in my survivability, so I still think this is, you know, definitely worthwhile. And then my skills, right, so let's not forget the fire staff this time. Okay, so I've gone both into Fireball and Pillar of Fire just on their own. I just don't think the traits are that good for them. So Pillar of Fire is like, it's sort of quick cast, you have to aim it. It's a good damaging skill. I'll often try to use it on people when they get close to me, because it can be quite hard to sort of put on someone as they're moving close to you, but you sort of can predict, like, they're going to come and attack me, they're going to be here, so then you just sort of get it off there. Oh, and then that's the Rune of Helios. So keep that in mind. See how I'm kiting in it? I'll show you that later, but so I'll show you, actually no, I'll show you now. So you got the Rune of Helios here, which is going to increase your damage by 25%. I'm always running around when I'm fighting, and I've had better mages tell me that, you know, like, that's a lot of damage I'm giving up, like a 25% increase in damage. And the fact is, you can kite. So if the Rune of Helios that you saw is kind of like this big, if you're fighting someone, you're trying to attack them, you know, you can just be doing this. You know, you don't have to be like running over here and that. You can just be doing this. You're just as difficult to hit, you know, and then try to get a light attack off. So, it's just a change in the mind frame and noticing when it goes down. But I'm terrible at it. Yeah, it's still something I'm working on at getting. Okay, and then Fireball. That's your big damage attack. That's the one that does most of the damage. So you just want to make sure that when you're dueling, you're in a fight, don't just randomly throw it at them. Like, throw it at them, watch their stamina, see when they run out of stamina, and then when they run out of stamina, that's when you throw your Fireball at them. Or throw your Fireball at them when you know it's going to land. Like, use it carefully, because just throwing it away needlessly, that's most of your damage gone. And most people are waiting for you to blow up your Fireball before you, before they go and full send on you. So yeah, just use it sparingly. And then of course we have this skill, the Burnout, which I'll get to. I guess I'm running through that a little quicker. I'll get to that shortly. That's this skill. And I have gone to all the traits here, because this last one makes you go 50% further, so it'd be terrible without it. So those are the skills. And then for the traits outside of that, I've kind of gone for most things that increase damage or restore mana. So for example, heavy attacks restore 5% of your mana on hit. And, and then of course this one reduces your cooldowns, which is going to be good because I've already mentioned this. All your damage comes from your Fireball and your main skills, so better to have that coming off cooldown quicker. This increases your damage, so useful. This applies burning to your foes every time you light attack, so when you're attacking, it's best not to just heavy attack all the time, because it really opens yourself up to being hit by other people that are like bow or muskets. You kind of want to weave in light attacks with heavy attacks. So yeah, that's what I do. And then when you do light attack them, you'll put a burn on them. So that's really, really helpful. And then you've got, yep, so again, more damage. This increases your crit strike chance. So this is where the mage really starts to come in with that extra crit. So it increases your crit chance by 10%. Heavy attacks no longer consume mana, so this really, really helps just restore your mana. And then again, when you do crit, you do 15% increased damage. So yeah, both like really good skills. This is why that keen awareness can be helpful on the jewelry, because it increases your crit chance too. And then this, again, while holding a fire staff and below 50% max health, increases your damage. This is sort of just a filler because I needed to get to like this level to get these, so I just used this. But, you know, fortify, damage reduction is never going to hurt. And burning lasts longer. You're going to be applying a lot of burning to your targets, so anything that makes that tick for longer is going to be a good thing. Keeps the pressure going. And then again, more critical hits with fire staff abilities inflict a stack of burning, so you're going to be getting more crits from your skills. So every time you crit, it's going to apply burning to the target. And then, and this applies a little bit of haste while using the fire staff, which, you know, when you're kiting people, can't hurt. So that's the fire tree. Now, the ice gauntlet, the main skills I'm using. At the moment, I'm using ice spike, which can be like incredibly hard to land. I've found that what you want to do is you want to, so you double click it, right? You click the button to do the ice spike, and then you click your mouse button to end it. And you want to do that, I've noticed, and I'm terrible at ice spike, but I've heard that you get better. But one thing I have noticed is you click it before you think it's going to hit. So with me, usually if I click it just before I think I need to, I usually hit the target. But if I try to wait while it's on the target and then click it, it goes past them. So sort of click it just before you think you need to click it, if that makes sense. So, yeah. So if I was trying to hit that thing, yeah, I think it did go up through it. So, anyway. And then Ice Tomb. This is just like the best skill ever. Not only does it just reduce all damage to you, and it removes all cleanses if you go... So if you go fully into Ice Tomb, down here, it removes all debuffs on you. So that's pretty epic. So if a spear guy is attacking you and he's got lots of bleeds on you, or you've got poisons on you from bow, this is just going to remove them. And also with the Healing Entomb, trait, which I got, you get like a 1,000 or 2,000 heals. So it's like absolutely brilliant. And it's just like if you're getting, and often when you've used up all your cooldowns, like you've cast your fireball, done a pillar of fire, you've done a little burnout around the post, you know, done your ice storm. Oh no, I've run out of my cooldowns. Well, you just go into that for a little while and wait for them to come off, and then you're ready to go for a second round, you know. So see, fireball's ready to go again. Pillar of fire. So I like that about it. It's a really good skill. And what was my last skill? Oh yes, and then this is just brilliant because you get a lot of benefits by standing in this, and also a lot of people don't like to come into it. So if you put that down and then start attacking people, like they sort of just have to stand outside of it, because if they come into it, they get the risk of you hitting them and getting rooted, and you're doing big damage while you're in it. So I love that skill too. I love the Ice Gauntlet, it's so cool. But anyway, so in terms of those skills, so I've gone all in on the Entomb, because I want that cleanse debuffs. For the Ice Storm, I've just gone one down because I want members that are standing in it to take 10% increased damage. This is really helpful in OPR and wars where you can put it down on people, they take heaps of damage, and then, yeah, it's just really good. And then I've gone all in on Ice Spike, because this is your other burst ability, so this is your ice version of Fireball. But like I said, it can be quite hard to land, so you just need lots of practice with it. But yeah, I've gone all in on this. And then, in terms of, and then for the main trait, I've gone for the Ultimate Chill. Increases ice damage dealt to targets by 20% for 3 seconds. So this is getting nerfed. This is getting nerfed next patch. So it means that unless you're using an Ice Gauntlet for damage, it's not gonna. It's like some people like might use a Great Axe with a Frost Gem in it, and then they'll use the ice ability, then switch to their Great Axe, and then hit, and then they're getting like heaps more damage done with it. That's not going to work anymore. You need to be using it with the Ice Gauntlet. So that's good. I think that's good because it means that like you have to be a magic user essentially to get advantage of it. So got that. This is really helpful. Yeah, that's just really, really helpful. Okay, so same sort of thing with the 5-star tree. I'm just trying to do anything that increases my damage. So again, this is going to increase my damage to targets that are far away, although it's quite hard to aim with the Ice Gauntlet. And then mana regeneration if I critically hit, so that's also really helpful just to keep that mana flowing. Increases critical damage of Ice Gauntlet abilities. So again, this is again where that crit thing is coming in with the Mage builds, where crit is really, really important. So Yeah, using that. Increase crit chance by 15% when hidden in a frosted area. So that means that when you cast this, stand in it and attack at them. Don't like run out of it, or don't like come behind it and attack. Make sure you sort of stand in it. So that's an important thing to know. And then this is the thing that goes really well with Unending Thaw, the trait on my Ice Gauntlet weapon. So heavy attacks will root a target if they stand in an Ice Storm or have Frostbite. So basically, they stand in an Ice Storm and then they leave the Ice Storm, they'll have Frostbite for 2 seconds. And then, so if you look at the trait, so I'm losing myself. Frost effects remain on enemies for 2 seconds after exiting Ice Storm. So you pop down Ice Storm. Now I'm the enemy and I run out. I've still got it on me for about 2 seconds afterwards. And so that gives you time to like heavy attack them and get them rooted. And then once they're rooted, then you use your Ice Spike on them, or you do some big, or do your Fireball, whatever. That's the chance for you to do your big damage. I think where was I? God, I've forgotten where I was now. I think I'm on this side of the tree now. Yes. So increases movement speed in a frosted area. So again, stand in your Ice Storms that allow you to kite them a bit better inside of it. You gain mana. So this is giving you back extra mana, and yeah, I think this is just a filler. But still, I mean, like, slows enemies by 25% if they hit you with a melee attack when your health is full. So it means the first engagement, they're going to be slowed and you'll be able to get away. So that's like still good in my books. So yeah, that is the Mage build. I don't think I've gone through the attributes, I've gone through the gear. I don't think I've forgotten anything. So hopefully that's enough. Hope everyone enjoyed the video, and expect to see some Mage videos coming soon. I've got like a dueling session I did with a really good mage the other day, so I'm going to cover like what I learnt through that. And yeah, so anyway, I will see you all. Thank you.